Hello, welcome to Life Coaching on the Move. I'm your host, Fiske, life coach, trainer, speaker, podcaster and YouTuber who shares lots of stories, examples, stories from many coaching clients over the years, 17 years. My own examples, my own thoughts. If you're new to this podcast, then let me just explain a little bit. I don't script write. Half the time I don't even know what I'm going to say until I say it. I'm often outside walking my dog because I record them here where I'm most at peace, most creative, most uninterrupted and at my best out here by myself in the woods. At the time of recording today's podcast, we are in the middle of April 2021. 2020. I can't even remember the year. Oh my word. In the middle of the COVID-19 lockdown. But that doesn't mean to say if you are listening to this in the future and you know the end of the story and we're out of it, doesn't mean to say that today's or any of the previous episodes are not appropriate. They're not just about the COVID-19 at all. They're about life and our emotions and our insecurities and our challenges and our thoughts and our beliefs. So you will still get loads out of these. Just going up a hill, so as you can hear, the birds are singing. Beautiful day. The dog's beside herself. She's been chasing all sorts and panting a lot. Today's podcast is about embracing the negative emotions that we have, the challenges, the struggles, and acknowledging what it is and how we feel about it, but also at the same time then using the antidote to that of the better things that are in our control, the positive things, the things we can do things about, and how by focusing on those it helps to shrink down the negative. And I talk about that we have a choice in how we react and a choice in terms of how soon we move on. So I hope you find it useful. If you do, please share it with your friends because no matter what the time, whether it's COVID-19 or not, I know that some of your friends will be struggling with challenges in life, with their own thoughts, with their own head, but perhaps with their mental health, perhaps with decisions, etc. Many of us privately have got some sorts of struggles going on, and I've been told so many times before from clients that I was listening to your podcast and it just spoke to me. It was as if you were talking to me at the time. And because there are 40 plus at least previous episodes to listen to in the back catalogue on all sorts of emotional subjects and confidence subjects and stress and time management and all sorts of things, there will be something in there that will help your friend, loved one, acquaintance or colleague. So share it on your media, social media, push it forward. There's also a YouTube channel if they prefer to watch, where I'm started to put up presentations on different subjects and a more structured way. If you're a regular listener, thank you so much for coming back. I am so pleased that you've come back. I am so aware that there are thousands and thousands of other podcasts out there that you could listen to, but that you've today chosen mine, and I'm really grateful. So thank you so much. Let's not waste any more time. Let's crack on to today's podcast episode. There may be a slight little blip of silence. It sometimes takes a second, but bear with it, and the second part will come up next. Hope you enjoy it, and I hope it's useful. Today we're talking about emotions and the wide spectrum of emotions that we can have, often actually at the same time. Which sounds weird, but we can be feeling sad, mad, angry, frightened, scared, but also at the same time be feeling optimistic, positive, determined, motivated, and so on. And I guess what I'm saying here is that we are actually quite complex beings. Us humans are so complicated, which is great. I think that's one celebration of us humans. We can have an array of emotions all at once, and that's okay. I suppose at the time of recording this, we are in the midst of the COVID-19 lockdown, but you may be discovering this in 2021, 22, something like that, and this is still applicable. We can be feeling a whole gambit of emotions all at once. And I guess my overriding message is that that's okay. We must feel what we're feeling. And it's all right. We've got to give ourselves permission to acknowledge what we're feeling, to recognize what we're feeling first and admit it. So, for example, let me think, two examples. Two people in my life have been struggling with various elements of the COVID-19 lockdown, partly because, I guess they haven't actually said this in so many words, but the first root of it is that it's out of their control. That's the first thing, and I've talked about that in the past, how awful us humans feel when we're out of control. And to a large extent during this lockdown, we have been out of control because the governments have been deciding things for us, and we've had to comply with it. It's for our safety, but it has felt quite out of our control. So both of them have been struggling with different things. One is very high risk, very, very high risk because of previous health issues, serious health issues. So she's very high risk, so she can't go out. She's got to be properly locked down. But she's expecting her second grandchild any day now by cesarean, I think. So she even knows the date that the second grandchild's coming in. So first, she desperately misses her daughter. Second, she desperately misses her granddaughter, a little toddler, who's in the prime of her life, is an absolute joy. And my friend can't be seeing her. And third, can't be with her daughter when the new baby arrives, can't help, can't look after the little one, can't meet the new baby, can't hold the new baby, and so on. And that's actually quite a major life event. And of course, understandably, she's been terribly upset about that. Really upset. It's been really hard on her. So that's one person with real struggles, and she's been trying to come to terms with that. And because she's very high risk, she doesn't even know if she'll be locked down until the vaccine arrives, which currently they've been saying could be up to 18 months. It may not be. They're doing lots of studies, but it potentially could be up to 18 months. So that's a hard thing for her to try and get her head around. The other example is of someone who actually works for the NHS, works really, really hard for the NHS, as all NHS workers do. She's not nursing or a doctor. She's behind the scenes, but it's her life. She absolutely loves her job, dedicated to her job, works incredibly hard, isn't married with children, lives alone with elderly parents, not in the city that she's living in. They're up north. So because they're elderly, she can't go and see them because she's in a city, because she's NHS. She's sort of high risk. So she can't now see her family, her only family really. She's also been redeployed in the NHS because the department she worked in is not operating at the moment. It's because it's not frontline, so she's been redeployed. And I was very worried about her emotional well-being because she was very, very low. She felt completely out of control. She'd lost her friendships in her department. They'd all been redeployed into different areas. She missed them. They were like a family to her. She wasn't seeing them. She was being thrown into a new section, new area where she didn't really know anybody. So it's new, it's out of control. It's self-doubt. Can I handle this? Am I going to be any good? Will I get on with people? All of those emotions that us humans go through. Will I like it? I miss it. I wish it was like it was. I wish I could see my family. I'm working really hard, and when I do get a day off or two, I can't even go and see my family. Felt very alone, very isolated, very self-doubting. insecure, very low, and I was very worried about her. So both of them have got very different struggles. Now you yourself may be going through all sorts of struggles personal to you, and that's, I suspect, all of the listeners and myself, we're all coming to terms with different things. So I can't generalize. There will be some extremes where people are locked down with someone they do not want to be locked down with, may actually be in danger, even a worst case scenario. Many of us are missing our family and our loved ones. Many of us are really worried about our family and our loved ones. Teenagers are struggling. They're missing all their friends and their social life and girlfriends and boyfriends. Children are struggling because why can't we go to the playground and see our friends? Why can't we go to school and see my friends? Why can't I have a birthday party? Because they're only 4 or 5. They don't understand. It's hard for everybody. And then, of course, there's the financial worries. Many people are financially very, very worried. So I know each and every one of you listening to this will be having your own struggles. Or if you're listening to this in 2022 or something like that, we may be out the other side, and you may be privy to the fact that we come out of it well. We come out of it with a vaccine earlier than we thought. That really excites me, that you may be listening to this in the future and you know what the end was of the story. You know how the story ends, should I say. And that really fills me with optimism, that there will be people listening to this and it will be over and irrelevant. But you will be facing your own challenges in life, of your own employment challenges maybe, or career challenges, or relationship challenges, or family challenges. All just in your own head, your own maybe self-doubt, insecurities, decisions that you've got to make, choices, pathways you've got to decide whether to go down and explore or not. But the 2 examples that I've just told you, I've been really worried about them, and I've been in touch with them and trying to support them because that's the kind of person I am, and I love them both to bits, and I genuinely feel their pain. But B, for another life lesson, is caring for other people and supporting them, or giving out with compassion or kindness, positivity, listening to them, feeling for them, making sure they're okay and checking in on other people is a great antidote to our own problems. A great antidote to stress is giving kindness to others. Rather than staying inward and focusing on our own stress, it's to put it outside and care for others, or give to others, or be kind, or look after others. So it not only helps them, it will help you too. It's always a two-way street. These things are always a two-way street. Even my job as a coach, where I'm trained not to let it in, not to let it affect me, so that I can stay there strong for them, it still re-energizes me, or I learn something from them, or it's a two-way street. You still get things back. Not that you do it for that reason, you don't at all, but it's human nature. It's an exchange of energies. It's a natural thing. When you give money to the Big Issue, or to charity on the street, or when you donate or give anything ever, it always makes you feel good as well, and that's good, and that's why we're such a generous nation. And if it made us feel bad, we wouldn't give. So it's a win-win, and that's always a great goal, a great outcome. So keeping in touch, checking in on my very dear friends, and ironically, both of them have come out the other side. It's only been a matter of weeks. They were truly struggling with their own issues and their own challenges, and both of them have come out the other side. How? Well, the situation hasn't changed. The government hasn't changed the rules yet. The lockdown hasn't gone. The pandemic hasn't disappeared. How has it changed for them? Well, the key for both of them, and they don't know each other, is that they've found some good in it. They've come to terms with the negative first. Both of them, in their own words, said, one of them said to me, just yesterday, I've accepted that I can't see my grandchild yet. I've come to terms with that. I feel okay with that. I've kind of gone through that and realised that it's short-term pain for long-term gain. If I stay well, and if they stay well, and we don't make each other poorly, then it can be a much better relationship when I do meet my little one. And I've got the wonders of technology and FaceTime and things like that, which is a great way and a helpful way, and an emotionally strong way of looking at that. And she also then was focusing on, I've been really busy. They have recently moved house, not so long ago moved house. And so she has been spending 6 hours a day out in the garden, completely gutting this garden, ripping out brambles that were there and digging out corners that they didn't know they had, and just she has been outside. So she has had lots of physical activity, which is very good for us. Burns off those stress hormones. It's very therapeutic. She's got a sense of achievement. She's wearing herself out. She's sleeping well. She's staying well. She's staying healthy. She's benefiting from the sun and the sunshine we've had. She's benefiting from a goal of making the garden, at least when we come out of this, we'll have a great garden. Really, really pleased that it's given us the time to do this. She feels really proud of what they're doing. And so she's putting, instead of dwelling on what she's lost or she can't have, instead she's not dwelling on the negative, she is focusing her energies on what she can control. And she is focusing on the garden and her goals and her plans, and therefore what she can do something about. And that has helped, because it's the other extreme to that. If we said we can feel so many emotions all at once, and often they're opposing on the end of a spectrum, to counteract her negativity and her upset and her grievance, her grieving the fact that she won't be able to see her daughter, her granddaughter and her new grandchild, but she is focusing her energies elsewhere. She's got something to talk about. When she does FaceTime them, she tells them all about what Grandma's been doing in the garden. She takes the laptop out there and shows them, and so on. So she is balancing it. She's getting a balance. So there are some real life lessons there, that it doesn't take away the negative side and the challenges, but it does make it feel better. It does give her something positive. It does give her some benefits and a sense of control and positivity. And although she'll be sad probably for the rest of her life that she wasn't able to be there when the grandchild arrived, she will always have something else as well. And the next best thing, which is of course technology and FaceTime or whatever. Whoops. My dog I am in the middle of a big wood, and my dog just lifted a pheasant, scared a pheasant who flew, and he flew straight at me. He nearly hit me in the face there. I had to literally duck. Anyway, the other person with her struggles, she still misses her team, her friends, and they are her second family really. But I've been checking in on her and trying in my own way to support her with kindness and compassion as best I can. And she said today, I'm really finding a new work-life balance. Although I'm working 3 days a week now, 12-hour shifts, which are long days, that means I do have more work-life balance, which she never had. She was so committed. She would be at work by 5 a.m. Every day, 5 days a week, sometimes more, and worked. And she said, I've realised now how bogged down we were in the other department, how exhausted I was. I'm really enjoying this now. They're a nice bunch, a nice team. I'm feeling better. I know what I'm doing. I've got the ropes now. I feel more secure and more knowledgeable in this area. I'm learning new things, meeting new people. So she's bringing new friends into her life, which is great. And I've got such a better work-life balance. I feel better. I'm relaxing more. I'm having some more time at home. What was her words? If nothing else, this COVID-19 has taught me a lot about myself and about how important my health is, my sleep is, my rest is, as well as working hard when she works hard. She does her 12-hour shifts, puts everything in, and I don't doubt that for a second. She is such a worker, so stoic, and I'm so inspired by her. But she's now teaching herself how to relax, and when she is at home relaxing, she has been watching some great things. We've been sharing what we've been watching. She's getting into all sorts of new lovely things, uplifting things, cheering herself up. And she now, after her sounding for quite a long time, for the first few weeks, really low and despairing and depressed, she now sounds really upbeat, very well, very healthy, and she feels in control. It doesn't mean she doesn't still miss her old team and her second family. It doesn't mean she's not desperately missing her elderly parents and her family home up north, and isn't desperate to get up there and have a break. All of that's still there, but she's tipped the scales by focusing on the positive. And that's what I think it's about. So for you, if there's some negativity, which I suspect there probably is some there somehow, because there often is, we are a combination. We just need to tip the scales. It's not to bury it, it's not to deny it, or ignore it, or hope it will go away. It's accepting that and allowing it and feeling it, which they both did, but tipping the scales by looking at what else there is, by looking at the positive, what's in your control, what you can celebrate, what can you've learnt. Both of them are learning things about themselves, learning acceptance, learning how to get over things and give themselves a pep talk. And I think I've said this before in previous episodes, we all need some time to wallow in the mud of doom and gloom, of upset, of feeling sorry for ourselves a little bit, or licking our wounds. We all need some time to do that. That's okay, and give yourself permission to do that. We've recently had a bit of a family feud with my 17-year-old about his future. He doesn't know about university, jobs, everything was up in the air with him. And we were having family dinner one evening, and it just, don't know how it started this time last week, don't know how it started, but before we knew it, we were in a bit of a heated discussion with him, and it got out of hand, and things were said that shouldn't have been said. We've all been there, haven't we? And it was only 5 minutes. It was a 5-minute thing, and emotions are high at the moment, and you're all locked in together, and they're magnified. And he's 17. He feels out of control. He doesn't know what to do about university or career or anything. He doesn't know when we'll be out of lockdown or anything. So the poor lad is having a tough time. But anyway, voices were raised, things were said that shouldn't have been said, and he stormed off, which is a 17-year-old thing to do, of course. But then he stopped speaking to us for days. And it went on for days, and we kept trying with him, and I would chat away, and I kept trying. We apologised for our part. And I think there was an element towards the end of him actually quite enjoying it and enjoying us grovelling and stewing and being apologetic. But I said to him after quite a long time of this sulk and silence going on, what is this giving you? What benefits are you getting from this silence? Why don't we talk about it? Tell us what you're thinking. Tell us what you're feeling, or accept our apology, or let it go and move on. What is it giving you? And what can you learn about forgiveness? Because, as my husband said to him, throughout life you're going to have fallouts with people, whether it's at work, whether it's in your future relationships or your marriage, or with mates. We're all going to have fallouts with people, and we are, unfortunately. And we might be hurt, we might be upset, and we might be angry, or whatever it is, but there comes a point where you have to move on from that. You have to let it go, put it behind you, forget what was said, recognise that there was lots going on and there's lots coming into play, but move on. And we've moved on now and everything's fine. But such a life lesson there, where, you know, how long do we want to, because we're in charge, aren't we? We're in control of how long we stay in that mud, how long we lick our wounds and wallow in it and be upset and hurt. But eventually we're going to have to, as we said to him, you know, we're in lockdown together, we're a family, we've got to all talk at some point, and it's whether it's today, tomorrow or next week, we're going to have to get on and talk and carry on as a happy family. So we're in control of that. Why don't we choose it now rather than tomorrow or the next? Because this is just torture and negative and horrible. It's horrible for all. And I do think there was a part of him playing games and enjoying it, and a little wry smile would be on his face sometimes, and maybe it was just through sheer boredom that he thought he would just carry it on for want of nothing else to do. But he's fine now. But it did show me, you know, perhaps this time when we're all confined together, maybe it brings out our personality traits, and highlights all of them, good and bad. We've all got good and bad. We're all going to have good days, bad days, good emotions, negative emotions. When you're trapped together, they get magnified. But the key here was we were all in control of how we reacted, how we chose to move on from that. So, you know, he could choose how long is it going to be before I will speak, and what is it giving himself, us, what purpose is it serving? Now for him, in a 17-year-old mind, it may well have been, well, I'll show them, maybe. And he, of course, he's still got to grow up and learn lots of things, and we're all still learning. I'm 54 and I'm still learning. I don't think you ever stop. I hope you don't ever stop. I don't want to ever stop learning about myself and human nature and people around me and situations. So it was interesting to see. And he did then choose to move on and carry on chatting, and we're having a laugh again and everything's fine again. So I thought today I would just share those, that really I suppose the key takeaway is we're in control of our minds. We're not maybe in control of the situation. We're not in control of this pandemic. We're not in control of lockdown. In 2022, or whenever you're listening to this, whatever's going on, there will be elements of your challenges in your life that are out of your control. So we need to focus on what is in my control. The sub-parts where I can gain some control and some influence, and change things and focus on different things, and instead of focusing on the negative of what I've lost or what I'm upset about, what I'm hurt about or angry about or whatever it is, in these three scenarios that I've given you, or in your own scenarios, whether it's now in COVID-19 or at any point in the future, there will be upset, there may be hurt, anger, etc., frustration. And that's okay, you can sit in that mud for a while, but it's up to us to decide when we're going to get out of that mud and lick our wounds and move on, by finding some positives, by finding other positives that can act as an antidote to the negative. You may not be able to change the negative, but by focusing on other things, and expanding those, making those larger, then the negative then shrinks, or the focus on it shrinks. It's a bit like, do you remember, my dad used to have a pair of binoculars, and you could either look down one end and see the big picture of the distant view that you were looking at, or you could turn the binoculars round and look in the other way and see it a much smaller image, but more focused and more close up. That's what I mean. You can focus on the negative, close up, focus on that, or you can turn the binoculars round and look at the big picture and see so much more and find the positive, and that makes the negative shrink, really, because you're not focusing on it so much. I hope that's been helpful. If you would like one-to-one coaching, even if it's just a half an hour, which I have never offered before, but I am now offering half an hour short coaching one-to-one sessions via FaceTime, Zoom, house party, Facebook Messenger, whatever that means. I'm offering those where we could just, for you, tailored for whatever that challenge is that you're focusing on. Maybe you just want to have half an hour and say, this is my challenge, this and this. I'm thinking that and that. I'm feeling X, Y and Z. What could I do? What strategies could I throw at it, etc. It could be a one-off half an hour, or it could be the usual hour coaching session. You're totally in the driver's seat and you can decide whether you have a follow-up or not, or whatever. I don't tie anybody into any length of coaching session or repeat sessions. So I'm there for you if you need it. Just go to the website www.milestone-coaching.co.uk, and you can click on contact me in various different ways there in the website. There's also other things to look at. There's a YouTube channel now where I do presentations on subjects, so you can follow me on YouTube. There's a blog, and there's various free workshops which I can't offer at the moment because we can't do face-to-face. But if you're listening to this in 2022 and you're local to Hampshire in the UK, there may well be a free confidence workshop coming up, a stress workshop, etc. There is also on there some online programs that you can download to your own inbox and then own and do at your own pace. Online learning programs. There's a long, lengthy, in-depth 7-module one for sale on stress management. That's a great one. Loads of stuff in there, and you do it at your own time, your own pace, and you can keep coming back to it because you then own it. And there's a shorter 1-module time management program for sale as well that equally you download and it's yours and you can revisit, or you can purchase for a team member if you're concerned about either their time management or their stress management. So have a little look at the website and see what you can see. And please, if this has been helpful today, please pass it on to a friend by word of mouth or through your social media, because they may be struggling, as 2 of my friends were, for example, and it could be that this may speak to them right now. And there are at least over 40 back catalogue episodes on all sorts of subjects that will help. So it may be just what they need right now, or the YouTube channel if they don't like podcasts, and so on and so forth. So that is everything for me today. Thank you so much for joining me on this dog walk this gorgeous morning. I hope you're all well and I hope you're all coping, and I just want to wish you all a good week. Looking forward to speaking to you on next week's episode of Life Coaching on the Move. And in the meantime, just take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Speak to you soon.